the Modify Element tool. This is located in your main toolbar right here, which is the very first one, or in your construction toolbar right here. This allows you to come in here and modify an existing element that you have drawn. So let's take, for instance, right here we have this circle right here. Right now my key point is set to nearest. I'm going to go ahead and change it to the key point snap. Double left click on it to make it active. And all you have to do is locate where you want to modify it from by left clicking on it. And now you can see that I can modify it however I need to modify it. I can move it out, move it in, and so forth to modify that particular shape or circle or whatever. Same thing for this line down below here. I can grab it by the endpoint. Maybe I need to modify this endpoint to go to here. I can easily do that. I'll snap to it, left click on it, and now you'll see that that particular line is being modified now. So if I want to tie it to this particular endpoint right here, this vertical line, snap to it, left click to drop it off, and I'm finished. Or if I want to go to somewhere else, you can do that. Also, if you have a dimension or a line above here, we can modify that particular line. So if I come in here and I snap to the endpoint of this line, and I'll drag it out however I need to modify it, left click to drop it off. Since this dimension was associated to that line, your dimension will also update to however you modify that line, just like what I'm doing right now. Or I can come in here and modify my particular dimension. Maybe I need to drag this dimension out a little bit farther. Left click on it, drag it up, or drag it up, drag it down, however I need to modify it, and drop it off. Or let's say I need to modify this dimension right here. Maybe I need to move the dimension to the left or to the right. We can do that. All we need to do is snap on the text of that particular dimension. Now you see that you can modify it to the left or right, or even pull it outside that particular dimension if you need to do that. Lots of uses for this modify tool. Same thing down below here. If we have a complex chain, I can come here and modify this chain if I needed to by grabbing one of the endpoints and modifying it to wherever I need to go. Or if I grab it, instead of grabbing it by the endpoint of that particular chain, if I grab it in the middle here, like if I'm trying to grab this line right here, you'll see that's going to modify to wherever place that I put it, but keep this end right here and this end pivoted down to where those won't move. So you can do that also. Or let's say this particular, the arc of that chain, I need to modify it. I can left click on it and I can modify it out depending on where I want to place it at. Not only can you modify the position of it, you also have the option to change the vertex of it if you need to do that. So let's say instead of it being a rounded vertex, I need it to be sharp. I can come in here and change that. It will change it to a sharp. Or if I change it to chamfer, I can change it to a chamfer instead of being a fillet. Or I come in here and change my rounding radius for this rounded vertex to maybe 10. Tab to lock it in, and now you'll see that that radius is changed. A lot of different ways you can do that. Same thing for this box right here. If I grab it by the end of the box, like for this example right here, if I grab the end of it and try to modify it, you'll see that I still have the same options up above here where I can change to a sharp or rounded or chamfer. You also have the option for orthogonal, which will keep it orthogonal. I'm going to go ahead and leave those set the way they are. But whenever I snap to that endpoint right here, you'll see that the opposite corner will stay pivoted, and now you can modify it however you need to modify it out the way you want it. So you can do it that way. Or if you grab it, instead of grabbing it by the endpoint, let's say you grab it in the middle here. Grab it by the middle here, you'll see that you can modify it however you need to modify it, but keep the opposite side pivoted down, just like what it's doing right now. So there's multiple different ways you can utilize the Modify Element tool to manipulate existing geometry that's out there.